Today we're going to go over some tips and tricks for Gmail. People have been asking about it, just how it works and some of the comparisons to Outlook. I got a little presentation that I'll go through, and then we'll do questions and answers for anybody at the end. All right? So Gmail, here are the basics. It's made by Google. Does anybody know what Google is? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Google? Search. So Gmail is an email client built by a search company. So everything with Google is built around the search. They've got the search bar. That's the core of everything. When you log into your Gmail window, up at the very top, you'll see there's a search bar for it. So the way that Gmail stores their emails is it's all in a big giant pile. In Outlook, everybody was kind of used to having folders and storing everything in folders, but that's not how Gmail works. Gmail has basically one folder, and it puts everything in there. And we'll get a little bit later on how we can organize stuff. But the big thing to remember with Gmail is that it's big piles. So they have what are called search operators. These are flags that you can use in the search. These are the same as on Google search if you're familiar with them. We'll start covering specific ones next, but each search operator is a specific word with a colon and search query. So for example, if you're looking for emails from me, you can type in from colon in the email address. When you're actually in it, you can do names. You can start typing in somebody's name, and it'll pull that in from the drop down and find actual names and fill that in for you. So some specific search operators. From, that's when you're finding who sent the email. That's the one that shows up in the from field. We have subject. So if you're looking for a specific subject line, you can use that one.
Can I back you up real quick? Can you does it search and find things no matter where you put them?
Right.
So if I'm in my inbox and I search for Andrew, even if I've slid your email over to your file, even if I've deleted it, will
if it's deleted, it's gone.
Okay.
But if you've archived it, then that's it. But that's the thing. Gmail is a big pile.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you're sorting it and what you're doing to sort different things of it, because it's all a giant pile, and it'll find it from anywhere in
Okay,
there.
got it. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, the only way that it would remove it is if you delete them. All right, so subject. After. So this is one of the date ones. You can do after and enter a date. It's pretty flexible with how you enter that date. You can say after January, after today, before today. I think before is the next one I have on here. This is really similar to after, so it just does before. So if you're looking for an email that's after January, and you can combine all these too. So if you wanted something that was in February, you can look for after January but before March. You can do really specific date ranges with that. All right, so I just covered some of the big ones that people use a lot, but here's a URL that has more of them. I can send this out to people afterwards. But there's a lot of different search operators. If you've ever used the ones on Google itself, a lot of these are the same ones. You can use the same operators in Gmail that you can in Google. So labels, we've talked about how the emails are all a big pile. So you can sort them a little bit. As a lot of people have already discovered, or as we talked about the email pile, there's certain things that you can do to sort them. You can add labels. They're not the same as folders. In folders in Outlook, you would put something in a folder and it would be just in that folder. But with a label, they still exist in the pile, but it's a way for you to quickly recognize where they are. But if you'll notice on here, some of these emails are have multiple labels. You can put an email into multiple folders without having to copy it like you would in Outlook. So it's a little bit different than how the folders worked in Outlook, but that's how the labels work in Gmail. So the other cool thing about a label is you can search specifically for a label with the search too. That's another search operator. All right.
So do you recommend the labels on by topic or anything like that?
I mean, it's however you like to organize things. Labels are only for you to make it a little bit easier to find stuff. You can use those search operators. Like if you're looking for a specific person, you can search for it that way. We didn't cover like to, but you can do emails that you sent to somebody is TO. colon. You can use CC, I think, BCC. There's a lot of different search operators that you can do to get into the granular things. Sometimes it is easier to search by labels. I think I got some of my labels here a little bit later. But it's a way to sort them based on your criteria. But we'll cover a little bit more about the creation of those and things later on. So settings. So everybody's seen the gear in their Gmail, all right? All right. So there's display densities in here. I think most people have discovered these, but the comfortable, cozy, and compact, those are the different, it's how much air there is in the design of it. If you like a lot more, if you like it to look more cramped, you can do compact. Comfortable keeps a lot of space in between everything. But the main thing that we're going to cover here is the actual settings. So under the General tab, we'll just kind of go through the basics of this. So the setup process, that's where it's going in, asking you to set up a picture and stuff. Most people have probably done most of that. You can set your language. So the maximum page size here shows how many emails it'll show per page. You can set your defaults here for that. Images, you can set it to not display images by default. You can set up some of your default styles. You have a send and archive button. You know, these are just the general settings. Here's desktop notifications. We're actually going to cover an extension later on that handles this a little bit better than the default ones. It gives you a little bit more power over the different things that you can do. You can set your picture. Here's a signature that you can set up. That's in the General tab in Settings if you guys haven't found that one yet. You can have it set where your autocomplete contacts come from. So here's one of the big ones. This is on the General tab, is your vacation responder. This is something that everybody had set up in Rackspace. You had to log into Rackspace to do it. But this is where you can go set it up here. This is the main one I wanted to cover here. But it's pretty straightforward. You set your first day, your last day, what you want it to say, the subject. So that's pretty straightforward. Any questions on any of the General tab stuff?
So if we have somebody leave their apartment and we've got a 30-day window on the emails, so we could go ahead and set, or probably I think should set this just to let them know where the
Yeah,
email
so when
address
somebody
is.
leaves, somebody set as the delegate, and that delegate can log into the account and they can set these settings. I'm not sure if it says anything by default, but you
But
probably
we
have
could
to
put that
set
in
it.
as a vacation response,
Exactly,
though,
yeah.
treat it like that.
We said we were going to come back with labels a little bit more. Categories are a little bit different. If you have a lot of experience with Gmail, you can turn these on. It'll auto sort into tabs up at the top of your window. These are all Gmail done. You can't customize any of this. And you can tell it when something should go into a different thing. It does a pretty good job filtering it. But if you notice, I don't have any of mine turned on. I like having them all in one place, but you can, on my personal one, I do use them on the tabs. And it's kind of nice for like promotions, like your junk mail from Amazon or whatever will all flow in there. So you can select everything from that tab and archive it if you don't want to look through it. So labels, though, are, I think, a little bit more important here. You notice you can create subfolders for each one. So I have a master one called server messages. I get a lot of messages from various servers phoning home and saying what they're doing. And I've organized them into various subsections. Like there's cPanel messages. I have cron messages from tasks that I'm running, local server messages. So you can really set up your labels in any way that you like. This is the page where you can add more. You can see the ones that you have. You can edit them to, you can't change much on them, what the name is. You can show or hide them here. If you've suddenly lost a label, this is where you can go and find it.
If you hide them, are they still searchable?
Yeah,
Okay.
they should be, yeah. They just don't show up in that main navigation.
Okay.
So on your master page, when you set up a label, when an email comes in, does it still show up on your master list, and then you move it somewhere?
So there's a few different things that you can do with it. If you actually take it from your main inbox and you drag it over to a label, What it does is it puts it into all mail and then adds that label. So if you click on the label, you'll see it there, and it should take it out of your inbox.
What's the difference between that and what I would call a file? Like if I've got an Andrew file over to the left and I drag your email and drop it there, that's different than a label.
No, that is a label. That's what it's doing. Those things that you have on the left are actually labels that you're setting
I'm
up.
just calling them something different.
Yeah, folders I think is what most people here call them, because that's what people are used to in Outlook.
Yeah.
And they're similar, but it's not quite the same. I mean, functionally you can probably use them the same, but labels can do a little bit more. The big difference is that you can associate emails with multiple labels.
You said you drag it, you said you could click it and not have to drag it?
Yeah, there's a few different ways that you can do it. Up at the top, if you have the checkbox checked, there's a drop down with a label. It looks like a little price tag looking thing. You can click on that and it'll show you all the labels that you have. So there's a few different ways you can do it. And you can automatically do that too, which we'll
You
cover.
can say move to, or you can say just label it as, and it'll stay where it is and be labeled as.
Yeah.
I love my iPhone because I can do my emails and put them in folders, because I like to have my email box clean. It's not clean right now, but on my iPhone I can just take it and it just automatically knows to go to Andrew. Because is there an easier feature here? It's easy.
We'll cover this in a few steps.
Okay, beautiful. Thank
We'll
you.
go over filters, which
Okay.
you can do some automation.
And
with your inbox.
are you gonna show us threads too? If we want them in threads or not?
I think that was under general.
Oh yeah, so it consolidates everything into one email.
Yeah, I don't really like that.
I don't either.
I don't
But
either,
It's possible to do.
And I'd rather have what I'm typing
That's
be at top
conversation
instead
view
of the
right
bottom.
here under the
Yeah.
general tab.
Oh.
If you turn that off, then it keeps them separate. I do like having them all in the same spot because
love
it
it.
makes it
Yeah.
easier to.
It's funny how people are different about that.
Yeah.
It's how
If you
your
don't,
mind
if you
works.
want them
Yeah.
separate, you
Really,
turn
people
that
do
off.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, the conversation view will try to keep everybody in the same one though. It's especially good on big reply all threads where you've got 20 different people all talking back and forth. You don't get 20 different emails coming in. That's why I like it.
I feel like if I have a thread, it's almost like I lose
we
the
turned it
email
on.
because it's in a
Yeah.
thread. Am I just being silly? Because it's normally at the top and then I'll feel like it goes away because it's in a thread.
Well, partially it's just training yourself, just knowing how to go through it.
Okay.
You do effectively, if you function like me, and again, sales is probably different than the news guys and how they think or organize or do whatever, or anybody, but if it's not right there in front of you, it's gone.
Right.
And with the threads, it'll, even when you open up like on my iPad, half the conversations will be, what's the word, consolidated, and you
They're
have to click
compressed.
to open.
Oh yeah,
compressed.
there's the
So
3 dots.
it's like it's
up.
not there unless I can see it, so that's why I choose not to.
Me too.
to do
Okay.
those.
Well, and yeah, and
Yeah.
on a related note on that, I want to make sure on the, that when I look at it on my phone, I don't want it to show it as red when I go to my computer, because I want to deal with it on the computer. So should I be changing that setting on my phone or on the computer?
That would be something on your phone, but the way that Google works and it's all talking to each other, I don't know if that's something that you can do.
I
There
don't
might
like
be a
that.
setting on the phone.
I don't like that.
Since it's
Because I need to have it
by
in front of me
default.
too. I need to see it,
Yeah.
and I need
Well,
to
you
deal
can-
with it yet.
You can read it on your phone and then mark it as unread, so that it'll still be unread on your computer, but they all want to synchronize.
Oh yeah, you can do that.
All right, I'm marking as unread.
All right, so the next tab we have up here is inbox. The inbox type, I just do the default. I can't remember off the top of my head what the other options are. Importance markers, you can turn this on and it tries to guess what messages are important. This is something I use on my personal one. It actually works pretty well. It's especially good if you get a lot of spam mail, if you're signed up to a lot of mailing lists, because it'll leave those off, but it'll add the important from ones that are actually from people. You can train it by telling it which ones you think are important, and it'll try to auto add those. And you can add different filters to it. All right, so accounts. If you have multiple email addresses, you can set this here. If you want to check, it's again, if you have multiple addresses, you can check from other accounts. You shouldn't be putting like personal ones on your Gatehouse one here, because then they'd have access to all those emails. So you probably don't want to set up another account unless you have 2 Gatehouse accounts, and they don't like anybody having that, so you probably don't. So it's probably not something you'd use a whole lot. But here is something that probably is of interest. Grant access to an account. What you can do there is when you go on vacation, you can grant access to somebody else, and they'll be able to get into your email and check it. So you don't have to share your password or anything. That person logs in as themselves, and then up in the right-hand corner where it has your icon, you can select a different person from there. So if there's a vacation thing, because I know that's something that happens a lot with like obits or news clerk stuff that comes in where one person goes on vacation, somebody else needs to check it. You shouldn't ever share your password with anybody. I mean, even IT, they can change it if they need to get into something, but you should never share your password. So this is a way around that. You can delegate access to it, and it's temporary. But you can also set if the conversations are read or unread based on how they treat it.
So I just heard you say, right now, the way I've set it up, I've got a personal Gmail account and a Gatehouse Gmail account. And when I set it up, I added an account, so I've got both of them. So they
So
toggle.
this one's different.
Okay.
What this one does is it actually goes out and checks the account and downloads the messages from the other account into this one.
Yeah.
If you're doing it in the add account up in the upper right-hand corner, those are separate.
Okay.
So those are two separate accounts that aren't talking back and forth with each other. This one is if you wanted to check that account into this one. So like with our Logic Maze stuff, we do have a Logic Maze account and a Gatehouse account. So that would be two accounts. So we could use that to have them all show up into one place. But I'm just saying, don't add a personal account in this spot here, because then it'll downloads those all to the Gatehouse ones. Okay, so now filters. This is where we were talking about your inbox automation. I showed you some of my filters before where I have cron messages. These are the things that my various tasks I have running. I automatically send those to a different place. That way they're not cluttering up my inbox. They're important messages to see, but I don't need to see them live as they come in. I can go in and check the folder for that. The other one here is server blocked messages. Our other server sends us a message every time it blocks an IP, which it does about every 10 seconds because people are always probing web servers. And there's another annoying one. So these are the filters. You can export and import filters and create new filters. So to create a filter, if you click on that, this is the first thing that you have. And these are some of those search operators that we were talking about earlier. These are the same things. You can do from, so if you want all the emails from me to go into a folder called Andrew, you could put my address up there. If you want all the ones that you send to me, you could put me there. Certain subjects, like if you're getting spam from a certain list every day, but you really want to have it, you can add the subject. Has is another one of those search operators that we didn't talk about before, but it just has : and that'll check if your email has that search term anywhere in there. Doesn't have is the same thing. I don't remember that operator off the top of my head. But there's attachments. You can choose to not include chats, which are your Hangout chats there. So this is the search terms that you can do. Any email that matches this will do whatever we tell it to do on the next page.
Do all of those have to be filled or just the ones?
Nope,
you
just
want?
the ones that you want. Yeah, it doesn't have to be all of them, just the ones that you need. On mine, I think they're all from, and I might add the subject to filter them a little bit different.
So in essence, what you're saying is that email, when it comes in, it's not going to come into my inbox. It's just automatically going to filter into the into the label that I created.
get to pick that on the next page.
Okay, got it.
Which we'll go to here. So these are what actually happens to it. So you can apply a label, the ones that we covered earlier. You can skip the inbox, which puts it straight to archive. If you don't click that, they'll show up in your inbox, but they'll also show up with the other labels.
Okay, so is it going to stay as unread in my label? Okay, look, Admiral. I get a lot of stuff from Admiral, but I like to have it, and I have a label for Admiral. But I don't read them all the time. I want to be able to go and read them when I need to read them. So it would behoove me to do this and have it skip the inbox, right? And it'll just go into Admiral. But is it going to go in as unread to Admiral?
Yes.
Whoops.
Oh, mark is red.
I'm on.
Oh, that's
Mark as red is the second option on there.
Oh, wow.
So you
Check
can
it out.
choose. If you want it to be marked as red, like you've already read it, you don't like having that bold number on there, it really
Okay.
bothers you, you can mark them as red as you put them in there.
Oh, that's cool.
There's star it,
Inbox, yeah.
which star is another thing that we haven't covered, but it's just another tool to make emails easier to find because you can sort by just starred emails. You can delete it. You can send it to spam. You can say that it's important, that other tag that we talked about before. The categories, those were the tabs that we were talking about earlier, but there's also the label. So in your situation where you want an admol, you would do from, you'd look up an email from them, find who the from address is, stick that in your from, and then on this page you'd click skip inbox, apply label, add them all. So that would filter them. They would skip your inbox and they would all head straight to add them all.
Okay, cool, awesome.
All right, and then you, this bottom checkbox here, apply to matching conversations, is kind of an important one because that'll apply it to messages that you already have. So if your inbox is being cluttered up by a certain thing, you want to make sure you hit that because it'll move those over. By default, it'll only work on new messages. So that's what this bottom one down here about matching conversations. All right, any questions on filters? We can go over it more too, but it's a really useful tool. I use them all the time for things because there's certain messages that come in that I don't want in my main inbox cluttering up, especially on the weekends when I got to check my phone for emergencies and stuff. Those won't, if you're filtering them to skip your inbox, they won't show up on your phone. You'll have to go in and check that folder to see them, and it's really useful for a lot of things. So next we have the chat tab, where all this does is turn chat on and off. If you suddenly can't see your chat, which is below your folders on the left-hand side there, this is probably where it went wrong. You can turn your chat back on.
And Gatehouse does a lot of chat, correct? Now that's like, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself. That's IM, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Google sort of treats them like emails. You can use those same search filters and stuff. They'll search both your chats and your emails.
Okay.
You can filter those. That was one of the things that I had there too, was conversations where you can filter by that.
It's in the lower left corner.
Oh, thank you.
It's
All
better
right.
than what I like.
So labs are a little bit of customizations. Gatehouse has most of these disabled by default, but there's a few things that you can add. Auto advance. I don't know. The list goes on. I didn't want to go into these too deeply, but it's extra functionality that you can add, but most of them are disabled.
Why did they disable it? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Security would be my guess.
It's too bad.
Some of them can open up security holes, and with a big corporation, you got to worry about security. Like hotkeys, I know, is one that's really bothered a lot of people, not having that.
Yeah.
And I have no reason why it's disabled, but security would be my guess. Is it
And
exposes
you
holes?
can't disable it?
No, I can't do anything about it. That's done at the corporate level. So, I mean, you can go into labs and see if any of that interests you, but most of them are disabled. There's only like 3 or 4 that they have enabled. All right, so the next thing, Gmail offline. So if you're traveling and you don't have an internet connection, you still want to be able to check your email, you can install Gmail offline. So when you click on that, it takes you to this page, which when it's not installed, will say install up in the corner instead of visit website. But this will install the Gmail offline. It automatically just downloads your emails, and you'll be able to see it there. So when you do get that installed, it only works in Chrome. I guess I should have mentioned that part too. Up in the upper left-hand corner of Chrome, right below your back button, you have a button called Apps. And when you click on that, it shows you all your apps. Gmail Offline appears there. So that would be where you go to
It
Gmail.
actually gives you a choice whether you want to just download messages you haven't seen or to download everything.
There's probably some customizations, yeah. Jeannie's actually used it. I haven't. I have it installed now, but I use my phone as a hotspot when I'm out and about and need to check email. Okay, so the last one of these tabs here are themes. So everybody's all unique and everything. So there's a lot of different themes you can do. It changes the color scheme. These ones with the pictures, we'll all put pictures on the background. It was Jesse that mentioned that he was helping somebody the other day, and it can be really useful if you are checking multiple Gmail accounts to have a different theme on them so you can visually tell which one you're checking.
I had like Tahoe, just in case anybody wants to know.
I like the default.
No,
All right,
love it.
so one last thing that we'll cover today is an extension. It is called Checker Plus for Gmail. This is again a Chrome only thing, so if you're not using Chrome, you can't use it. But to install plugin, there's the 3-dot option menu up there, and you come down to settings. And then this will bring you to extensions over here, and then you click the see more extensions. If you've ever installed an extension, this just takes you to the extension store. This is how you get to it by default in Chrome.
What does that mean? I don't know what it is.
Extensions,
Yeah.
they extend the functionality of Chrome. there's added functionality.
It's like apps for your Chrome.
Okay,
Like apps for
Yeah.
Google Chrome, sort of.
okay, got it.
So this one's called Checker Plus. If you look for Checker Plus, I'll show you at the end here what it actually does.
Okay.
This is just the install part of it. But this is what the thing looks like. It's called Checker Plus for Gmail. So what it does at that point is it adds a small icon in the upper right area of your Chrome that will show you how many unread emails you have. So you can look at unread emails without actually having to open Chrome. If you click on it right here, it shows you your accounts. You can use multiple accounts on here. You can set it up to use all of your accounts. It shows you the emails. You can look at them quickly. You can click on it, go straight to the email. It's a shortcut to actually opening up Gmail in a lot of ways. But one of the big features on it that we found is that you can customize your notifications a little bit more. Because by default, the Chrome notifications, they pop up. I think they sit there for 5 seconds and they disappear. So if you're away from your desk, you'll miss all of them. So what you can do here in the notifications is you can pick how often they close. By default, at 7 seconds, you can set it to never close. So if you got to walk away from your desk and come back, you can come back and you'll have the notifications for all the emails that you missed. You can do a lot more customizations. You can have it, clicking on it will open it. You can have a second one that deletes it, archives it, whatever. There's quite a few different customizations in Checker Plus. But it gives you a little bit more of the notification type of thing that Outlook had, and a little bit more customization over it.
So Reportive is an extension.
Probably, I don't know that. I'm not familiar with that.
That's one that you can see if someone has LinkedIn or has social. Okay, I think I'll,
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of different extensions.
all right,
I don't think I took a picture of my actual Chrome browser here, but
okay,
I've got 15 different ones installed for
okay.
lots of different things. All right, so that concludes what I have for today. Does anybody have any questions that we haven't covered
I do.
as we've gone?
So I did the calendar function down in the lower left, which is nice. You can see if somebody else's Gmail calendar.
Yeah, that's one of the
Oh.
labs features, isn't it? Where you can turn on calendar.
Yeah, but now I can't get it off.
You would go into the labs tab, and
Uh-huh.
you can disable the extension.
Well, I don't want to disable it. I wanted to look at it for a moment in time to see if somebody was available, but I don't want it to stay on my calendar,
You're talking about in the Gmail window or in the actual calendar?
in the actual calendar.
All right, I might have to look at that one.
Okay.
You
I
can
would
hide your
appreciate it.
calendar.
Yeah, I think there's a checkbox
I
on
didn't
each one of
see it.
them where you can check and uncheck it.
Well,
To
you'll
see if
look
it
at it
shows
with me
up.
then.
I don't know if you can totally remove it from that list once you've added it.
Well, I just don't want it on my calendar, because it's somebody else's calendar. I was just looking to see if they were available at a moment in time. I don't want it there every day.
Calendar tips of your next session.
Yeah.
Well, if people are interested, we can start covering some of the other stuff. Because as I was doing this one, I realized there's a lot. I only got to half the stuff I wanted to cover. In order.
We need a whole big one on Google Drive too.
Yeah, that's
And
kind of.
Sheets.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to keep doing this, we can and cover the different things. This one was real Gmail focused. I wanted to cover contacts too, but didn't really get a chance for that because there's also a contacts tab that you can go to. It's the same thing where you can add labels to that one, and you can sort your contacts by that, and you can email those labels and send out to groups of people.
Okay. Is it easily, I love the fact that you just did that PowerPoint presentation on your phone. I want to know how to do that. Not right now, because my brain can't take anymore, but is that easy?
Well, I'm using Keynote.
Not now.
I'm sorry?
I'm using Keynote. That's the program.
Oh,
It's not PowerPoint, it's Keynote.
oh,
And it
okay.
integrates with the.
And I have Keynote, don't I?
Yeah, it's a Mac program. You can't get that on Windows.
But I think I have Keynote on here. Because it would be in my phone. Oh, so I'd have to have Keynote in my Mac
Yeah, I
in
got
order to do
Keynote
it,
on
and
my
then
phone.
you'd linked it with your app.
Yeah,
Then you just have an app. Okay, got it. That makes sense.
there's an app for that. Yeah.
There's an app for that.